Hello, everybody. It is Saturday, the 24th of May. I want to talk about New Jerusalem again. The cube. I can't believe this is happening. Because I was looking at something yesterday, the day before. I had looked at this a while ago, and I don't think I did make a video about it. The Teflin. I want to talk about that in a minute. But I wasn't for doing anything. I really want to concentrate on my own life, to be quite honest. That's where I want to go, because I feel like all this looking at it over the years. I've been going down a whirlpool, and I'm right now looking at the abyss. I'm at the edge of the abyss, and I don't want to go there. I really want to backtrack and get away from this. I don't want to fall into it. Still, okay, I haven't fallen into it yet. So let's go a little bit further. Right, so I got this, so I was looking at something, I got this comment saying, can you talk more about the cube and the meaning of it all? Which would imply that I know the meaning of it all, which I don't. I have an awful lot more questions than I have answers. I can only tell you what I see. What the overall meaning of it all is, no. I don't know that either. Anyway, so let's talk about New Jerusalem, which is a cube. The cube hanging in the sky. And there are beings inside of that cube. God, the God of the Bible, is inside of that cube. There's lots of other beings. And his servants, the servants of the cube, are in this world humans that close off the heavens so that the rains won't fall, causing famine, causing war, creating pestilences whenever they please to do so. The last pestilences will be poured out from New Jerusalem itself. Yeah? And if anybody is still going around saying, glory, hallelujah, that is the God of love and compassion, then they've got something seriously wrong with themselves. They really should seek help. That is the outcome. That is the outcome of the way of denial of self that will take you there, to the knowledge of that. Right. But I want to talk about a tefillin, which is something that is used in Judaism to aid prayer. Let's say it like that. It is a little black cube, leather cube, with a leather strap on it. And you tie it to your forehead, there, over the third eye, really. Or you tie it, and the other strap is tied to the dominant arm. Strapped to the arm. So you're tied. You're tied to the cube. Literally, physically tied to a cube. Or the cube is tied to you, whichever way around you want to look at that. I think it's more a case of that you are tied to the cube. Now inside of those little cubes, there are Torah scrolls. And there are specific passages of the Torah written on the scrolls. Now, I'm afraid there's going to be a little bit of Bible reading now. So, to say what it actually says inside of the tefillin. So the first one is, there's actually two long passages out of Exodus, but there's something in there. When I read it this morning, I was like, are you actually serious? I didn't know it said that. Anyway, here, let me read this. So we start at Exodus 13. 1 to 10, and then 11 to 16, so it's a bit of a stretch, but still. So, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever opens the womb amongst the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day in which ye came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day ye came out in the month of Abib. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Havites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep his service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me, when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thy eyes. There's the mark of the beast. Mark in the forehead, and in the hand, There's the mark of the beast. Right. And it shall be a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thy eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth, for which a strong hand has the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep his ordinance, and in his season from year to year. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that opens the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the male shall be the Lord's. Can't believe that word is there. That you shall be set apart unto the Lord all that opens the matrix, all that enters into the matrix. The matrix is here. That which enters into this world, enters into this matrix. And every firstling as of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. An ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou shalt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck, and all the firstborn of man amongst thy children shalt thou redeem. And it shall be, when thy son ask thee in times to come, saying, What is this? That you shalt say unto him, By the strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that opens the matrix, being males, but all the firstborns of my children I redeem. So that is the first one that is in the cube, the thought that is in the cube. the knowledge that will be passed on from generation to generation. That the Lord brought you forth out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Yeah? You're no longer in bondage to the Elohim of Egypt. But you now serve this Lord, which they actually walk from one bondage into the next. But that is not pointed out, obviously. It's pointed out as the first bondage. But still, that is what is in their forehead. It is the Lord that took us out of bondage. It is the Lord that set us free. It is the Lord that we must serve. That is the Lord that gives to us the land. And for that we must serve Him and fulfill His commandments. Now, the other one is in Deuteronomy 6. Deuteronomy 6 and Deuteronomy 11, which I haven't marked. Anyway, it doesn't matter, I'll find it. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, our God, let's start again. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy might. And these words which I command thee these days shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk to them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes. There it is again. The mark of the beast. Teach it to the children. Bring the children unto me. You think that Jesus taught a different God. I don't know where you're getting that from. This is just repeated in the New Testament. And there was no other God. It's still the same one. I am of Abraham. I am the straight line from Abraham. There is no other God. So, and, there it is. Deuteronomy 11, that's the last one. And it shall come to pass, if ye shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord our God, and serve Him with all thy heart, with all your soul, your heart, your soul, then I will give you the rain of your land in the due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that thou may gather thy corn, thy wine, and thy oil. And I will send grass in the fields for thy cattle, that you mayest eat and be full. Take heed to yourself, that your heart be not deceived, and ye should turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and He shuts up the heavens, that there shall be no rain, that the land yield not her fruit, lest ye perish quickly from off the good land which the Lord giveth you. And there it is again. Do not be deceived that Jesus served a different God. And He shut up the heaven, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit. That is what His witnesses are doing in the New Testament. They will shut off the heavens, that the rain shall not fall. The Lord, that being, and it is a being, works through them. It is not them doing it. Works through them. And they're doing it. There shall Therefore shall ye lay up all these words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your head, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. And ye shall teach them to your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. Here it is again. So those are the verses that are in the tefillin, in that little box, that you bind in your forehead and that you bind to your arm. Let me show you again what Jesus actually taught. Now, what he taught was spirituality, was absolutely spirituality. That means having knowledge of ourselves beyond the body. Because what he did, and I absolutely believe what he did, I am actually a believer. The miracles, the things that happen, were not done in the physical, but they were done by the persons doing them, through the use of our energy bodies, which is spiritual. That is spirit. It's the energy that we produce. Thoughts, emotions, we produce the energy, and we can work with that energy. That is spirituality. And it is a reality of us. And it is something that we need to learn. We need to know who we are. A greater awareness of ourselves, of what we actually are. That is the knowledge that he brought. That was what he was, let's say, anointed with. Yeah, that was the anointment, the giving of knowledge of himself, the knowledge of self. And then there's the way. And the way is, what do you do with your knowledge? What do you work with it? And religion will tell you. When Jesus said, whatsoever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. What religion tells you, the only thing that you should desire, all your thoughts, with all your head, with all your heart, with all your mind, you shall desire to know the Lord, to know God. That is how your spirit should be used, to know the Lord. And you should not be distracted by what is going on in this world, but you should detach from what is happening in this world and to use your energy purely in opening the door to the knowledge of the Lord. That there shall be a experienced reality of God, and that's what it will be. Again, one of the reasons why I haven't gone there. I don't want to know that God. Yeah, I'm happy enough that he exists. I believe he exists. I don't want to experience him as a reality. I really don't. Again, this is where I am at the staring down the abyss. And I don't want to inadvertently open that door. And I'm thinking about this an awful lot, and I think a lot more than that is good for me. But I want to open the eyes of the people to the truth. which is written in this book, the truth of this book. So again, let's go back to the Tefillin for one moment more, and that is the image of the cube. The image itself, I think, is a reflection of, I would say, a craft, some sort of craft that will be hanging in the sky. So it's already the image of that. And it is the thought of, that is God, it is the only God, it is what has taken us out of bondage, obviously not seeing that you've walked into the bondage to Him, but they're blind to that. But really, everything they see in this world, everything they do is filtered. It is a filter. It's filtered through that knowledge of God and what serves God and what God commands and what God wants you to do. It is a filter by which you judge everything. You judge everything according to His desire, not according to a human being, because those are not human beings. And it creates a distortion. It creates a distortion in how you view yourself in this world. And you have strapped it to your arm. So here is thought and there is doing. It will determine what you do. When you see what they're doing as inhuman. It's inhumane, it's no longer human. They have become the fullness of the will of that God, and that God, again, let me say, is not love and compassion. That was a deception. Jesus Himself said, everything I'm doing is to bring people on to the knowledge of the Lord. That was His whole aim. To bring people to that point where they get connected to that. Use your spirituality, use your desire to only seek the Lord. Again, in the first place, doing things that were really good, healing and stuff like that. That was the hook. Fishers of man, that was the hook. And when you reeled in, once you've bitten the bait, you come to the revelation, to the book of the Revelation. And there's no love and compassion there. That was a deception to draw you in. The reality of what will come is completely different. But there's the last question, and that is that we are beings, spiritual beings, and we can heal, and we can do things in this world. We know things, we can do things on the spirit. How should that knowledge be used? And the thought that I had is, it is a great knowledge. Yet to know yourself in that way you would become a very powerful being. But what is power and greatness? That you take over worlds? That you rule over others? Or to serve? And really having a great knowledge and doing very small things with it in your own life. Very small things. Things that would aid you from day to day. Now, I'm quite sure there are those that would say, well, that is the meaning. Yeah, that is to use such a great knowledge for such base things. As the meaning to the knowledge. But what was it actually meant for that sort of greatness? what they would deem greatness? Or was it to serve in life, to do ordinary small things, to create a beautiful world? And Jesus said that he gives to all. He gives to the birds in the sky and to the lilies in the field. They receive. What do? Everything receives. What does everything do with it? Are they going around taking over worlds because they receive of the Creator? Or are they what they are? They're just what they are. They are a part of this world and they function in this world. They give and they receive in this world. And is that simply what the knowledge was given for? And again, what is greatness? To rule over, but to be able to be a part, a serving part of something greater than yourself. Of course, they would say serving the Lord there is also a part of something greater than themselves, but the fruit, the action, the outcome, death and destruction, that's not greatness. In this world, the outcome would be life. To be a part of this matrix, to be a functioning part in the web of life will give life. And then again, which is the greater? If you decide to be a part of this world, as I have for myself, is that again bondage? You would have to play by the rules, obviously. There are laws, there are always laws. You can't get away from the law. We're above the law is nonsense. There are always laws. There are always rules by which these things have been held together. I don't think it is bondage if you have decided out of your own free will. And the other thing is you can get in, you can get out. So you're not trapped. We are not trapped. We can get out. So we could decide out of our own free will to be a part of this and then to use our spiritual powers in service to this. And that is then being a servant out of your own free will versus being a slave and becoming a slave because you didn't know what you were doing in the first place, because you were tricked into it. Bondage is that God in the cube. That is bondage. Here could be service out of our own free will. Yeah, one is the knowledge, the other is the way. What do you do with it? And to be in this world and of this world, you don't need a filter to see things differently. You just need to see what is actually here. It's not hidden. There's no deception. You can see it all around you. There is no deception. What is here is here. What is. You can see it as a solid reality. Nothing is hidden. The other is working through deception. Anyway, here folks, I leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.